the country that I'll be doing is the United States of America. First, we start off with the sector circular, the closed two-sector circular flow of income with households and firms. The households own the factors of production, and they then sell them to the firms. In exchange for that, the firms pay in the form of wages, rent, interest, and profit to produce these goods and services to be sold back to the households. We call this circular flow, this two-sector circular flow, closed because no money should leave the circular flow, which in part entails that the value of the factors of production should then equal wages, rent, interest, and profit, and the consumption should then equal the value of goods and services. When we talk about countries, we normally talk about, in economics, we talk about gross domestic product, or GDP. And simply in this two-sector flow diagram, we see that a quick understanding is money times speed equals GDP. And what that's saying is the speed is how fast the money exchanges hands, for example. And so the general idea is the more speed, then there's going to be a growth in GDP, and the less speed will be a decrease in GDP. And just want to point out the GDP of the United States is actually $7,039 billion US dollars. Now we're gonna go more in depth and start going into the four-sector circular flow diagram. We no longer refer to it as closed because we have leakages and injections. Today we're going to be looking at international. Today we're going to be looking at foreign trade, the foreign trade sector within the United States of America. In this diagram, we see it as exports and imports. And saying that, what we're saying is that from households, the expenditure from households to firms, not all of that goes directly to firms. It goes, there are leakages, and one of those leakages is imports. And so the imports, so we're importing goods and services from other countries. And for exports, we view it as injections, an injection into the economy to better help the GDP of this country. Now we're going to look at the data that's provided. We see exports of goods and services takes up 3.4% of the United States' entire GDP, which comes out to be $943.22 billion. And the same goes for imports. So we see imports has a 16.5% of the GDP of the entire United States, and that number comes out to be $1,161.43 billion. Now we subtract the two numbers to see if the United States is at a trade deficit, meaning import is greater than export, or a trade surplus, which is vice versa, meaning there's greater export than import. And this data is taken in the year of 2014. And looking at the calculations, we can see that the United States in 2014 is at a trade deficit. What this means is that there are more goods and services coming into the country than out, which does in fact affect economic growth within the country. We view we view imports as a negative aspect only because it doesn't open up any new jobs within the country. But in actual fact, it's not so bad. What it actually means is that there's a lot of domestic demand for said goods and services, which indicates a growing economy. A good economy has both exports and imports growing simultaneously. Um, so now we're going to look at another four sector um, circular flow diagram. Now we're going to look at the financial sector. So there again, we have households and firms. Um, so when we talk about the financial sector, we talk in terms of investment and savings. We see savings as a leakage and investments as an injection. The reason behind this is that households expenditure doesn't all go to the firms like in the prior diagram. So another leakage is savings. So people save their money, and people save their money in a place called the financial market. Um, and what that is financial institutions such as banks, and we call this gross national savings, which which includes savings of the public sector, private corporate sector, and government savings, but excludes foreign savings. So that excludes people that save their that excludes foreigners who save their money in U.S. banks in the U.S. Um, having this decrease expenditure, sorry, having this decrease in expenditure, so people saving their money, um, does affect the economy, and firms especially. So they'll have to cut down on production if they don't find a way to put money back into the circular flow. Um, and a way to put money back into the circular flow, that leads us into investments. So firms borrow money. So we see firms borrow money from the financial market to make capital investments. Um, what that is money being spent on fixed costs, sorry, such as machines, factories, and trucks, in order to expand production. The idea is like the closed two sector diagram, so no money is being lost. So the idea is that no money is being lost. It all comes back into the circular flow. Looking at the data provided, we see gross capital investment is 20% of the United States GDP, which gives us the number $1,407.8 billion. And we see gross national savings the percentage of the GDP is at 18.8%, which gives us the number $1,323.3 billion. Now we need to find the difference between the two, hoping to find that it's going to be equaling zero, meaning that there's an equality between investments and savings. If there's more savings to investments, that means that is a bad thing, because it means that goods won't be sold, because consumption is decreased, and overall the flow of money will contract. However, if there are more capital investments to savings, that's a good thing, because it will increase output, so production will increase, and ultimately the flow of money will expand. Thank you.